Everything Dwight touched in Tulsa turned into fire. Allies became enemies, power turned into chaos, and every step forward pulled him deeper into a world of betrayal. Season 2 of Tulsa King wasn't just about running an empire, it was about survival in a city that didn't want him, surrounded by people who would either kneel or stab him in the back. Season 2 begins with Dwight the General, Manfredi, facing the heavy cost of his choices. After building a new criminal empire in Tulsa during Season 1, Dwight now has more to lose than ever. His crew, which started as a ragtag group of outsiders, has grown into a real organization with territory, money, and influence. But the bigger the empire, the bigger the target on his back. Everyone in Tulsa, from rival gangs to the feds, wants a piece of him. What makes this season so gripping is the way Dwight balances old-school mob tactics with the harsh reality of a modern world that's moved on without him. He's still the same man who did 25 years in prison, holding on to the rules of loyalty and respect. But Season 2 shows us how those rules no longer apply the way they used to. People don't wait in line, alliances don't last, and betrayal can come from anyone: friends, family, or even blood. We see Dwight's leadership style tested early. He wants absolute control, but he also wants to build a crew that feels more like family than soldiers. That soft side, the desire for connection, makes him vulnerable. He's no longer the feared mobster from New York. He's the outsider trying to prove himself in a town that underestimates him. And that underestimation is both his greatest advantage and his most dangerous weakness. The second season leans heavily into Dwight's identity crisis. Is he a father trying to reconnect with his daughter? Is he the kingpin building an empire in Tulsa? Or is he just a man running out of time, haunted by past mistakes? The show never gives a simple answer, but it forces him to choose, because you can't be all three and survive. His empire expands. Yes, but so do the cracks beneath it. Rival gangs grow restless, the FBI sharpens its focus, and even the people closest to Dwight begin to question his decisions. Every scene in the early episodes feels like a slow tightening of the noose around his neck, and that's what makes this season different from the first. In Season 1, Dwight was building something. In Season 2, he's holding on to it with bloodied hands, knowing any slip could bring it all crashing down. The rise of Dwight in Season 2 isn't a clean success story, it's a messy, violent climb filled with betrayals, close calls, and the reminder that every king sits on a throne built on shifting sand. If Season 2 of Tulsa King could be summed up in one word, it would be betrayal. This is the season where Dwight learns the hard truth. In the world he's building, loyalty is just another mask people wear until it no longer benefits them. Every alliance he thought was solid begins to crack, and every hand he shook comes back to stab him later. At the heart of it all is Dwight's vision. He wants his empire to run on respect, not fear. He believes that giving people second chances will keep them loyal. But in Tulsa, the rules are different. Respect is temporary, fear is forgotten quickly, and greed is the only law most people follow. What Dwight doesn't realize until it's too late is that the same people he raised up from nothing are the ones most eager to take his throne. One of the sharpest betrayals comes from within his own crew. The ragtag group that once treated him like a savior slowly begins to see him as a relic, someone too stubborn to adapt. They whisper in back rooms, they question his choices, and worst of all, they start making deals behind his back. It's not one grand betrayal all at once, it's death by 1,000 cuts, a missed call here, a lie there, until suddenly Dwight is surrounded by shadows he can't trust. And it isn't just the crew. The alliances Dwight made in Tulsa, especially with rival gangs, start to fracture. Where there was once shaky cooperation, there's now open resentment. Dwight is too strong to take head-on, so his enemies chip away at his foundation. They don't go for him directly, they go for his people, his money, and his influence. Slowly, the empire begins to bleed from the inside out. The personal betrayals hurt the most. Dwight's daughter, Tina, becomes a symbol of the life he can't quite reach. He wants to be a father, but the world he's chosen makes that almost impossible. The more he tries to pull her close, the more danger he brings to her doorstep, and that tension creates its own sense of betrayal, not by action, but by the walls between them that Dwight himself helped build. In the end, it feels like he's losing her trust as well. And that wound cuts deeper than any mobster's knife. Season 2 also makes sure we see that betrayal isn't always loud. Sometimes it's silence, hesitation, or the look on someone's face when Dwight asks a question and knows they're lying. The writers stretch these moments out, showing us how paranoia eats away at him. For a man who built his life on the certainty of loyalty, every small doubt feels like poison. The brilliance of these betrayals is how human they feel. They aren't just bad guys turning on the boss. They're about ambition, survival, fear, and even love. People betray Dwight not only because they want power, but because they're scared of what being close to him means. He's a magnet for trouble, and those who stand beside him eventually have to choose: stay loyal and risk their lives, or cut ties and live another day. By the middle of the season, the cracks are impossible to ignore. Dwight is still standing tall, but his circle has shrunk. He no longer knows who he can call at midnight or who will actually show up when the bullets start flying. The audience is left with the sinking feeling that the empire he's built is rotting from within, and when it finally collapses, it won't be his enemies that deliver the final blow, it'll be the people he trusted most. This focus on betrayal gives Season 2 its sharpest edge. It's not just about mob wars and gunfights, it's about the slow unraveling of a man who thought he could build loyalty in a city full of opportunists. Every betrayal chips away at Dwight's belief system, forcing him to see that maybe the world doesn't work the way he wants it to. And that question whether Dwight can adapt or will die clinging to old rules is the fuel that keeps this season burning. Every empire, no matter how powerful, crumbles if the foundation at home is broken. And for Dwight, the General Manfredi, Season 2 of Tulsa King shows us that his most dangerous battles aren't just fought with guns or fists, they're fought in the fragile space between him and the people he loves. This is where the season takes its sharpest emotional turn, reminding us that even kings of crime are still fathers, still lovers, still human beings who bleed when the people closest to them pull away. The heart of this struggle lies in Dwight's relationship with his daughter, Tina. She's the piece of his life he wants most to fix, the one connection that gives him hope of redemption. But Season 2 makes it brutally clear that fatherhood can't be bought with money or enforced with power. Tina carries the scars of Dwight's long absence. 25 years behind bars isn't something you just explain away. Every time Dwight tries to step closer, he's met with hesitation. She wants to believe in him, but every whisper about his crimes, every shadow that follows him, becomes another reason to keep her guard up. Their scenes together are heavy with unspoken words, filled with the weight of years lost, and the knowledge that danger follows Dwight wherever he goes. The tragedy is that Dwight genuinely wants to change for her. He doesn't want to be the man who ruins her life. He wants to be the father who protects it, but his choices pull him in the opposite direction. Every deal he makes, every fight he picks, drags him further into a world Tina desperately wants to escape. That tension becomes its own betrayal, not because Dwight doesn't love her, but because love alone can't erase the reality of who he is. Season 2 forces Dwight to realize that in trying to protect her, he might be the one putting her in the most danger. Romantic relationships add another layer of complexity. Stacy Beale, the ATF agent with whom Dwight had a complicated romance in Season 1, returns with an even messier role in his life. Their connection is undeniable, but it's poisoned by mistrust. She's law enforcement. He's the criminal she should be taking down. Yet, in moments of vulnerability, they keep finding their way back to each other. Season 2 pushes this dynamic to its breaking point, blurring the line between passion and betrayal. For Dwight, Stacy represents both danger and salvation, a woman who knows him better than most, yet whose very job makes her a threat to everything he's building. For the audience, their relationship feels like a ticking time bomb, and every shared glance carries the tension of whether love or duty will win. But it isn't just Tina and Stacy. Dwight's new relationships in Tulsa reveal how much he craves connection. In a world that only understands power, his crew is more than soldiers to him. They're a substitute family. He sees in them what he lost with his blood relatives: loyalty, camaraderie, and trust. Yet, as betrayals seep into the ranks, Dwight is left clinging to the idea of family that may never truly exist. The irony is painful. The man who built an empire out of loyalty can't hold his real family together. The season also highlights how Dwight's past haunts his present. Old ties from New York resurface, reminding him of the family he once belonged to, the mob family that exiled him to Tulsa in the first place. These ghosts loom large, making him question whether building a new life is even possible when his old one refuses to let go. Every decision he makes for his Tulsa family is shadowed by the knowledge that blood ties and old codes don't just disappear. They follow you, demand payment, and remind you of who you used to be. What makes this section of Season 2 so powerful is its emotional rawness. The action sequences keep us on the edge of our seats, but the family drama is what makes us care about the outcome. It's the quiet scenes, the arguments over dinner, the silences on the phone, the longing looks across rooms that cut the deepest. Dwight can outfight gangs and outsmart feds, but he can't muscle his way back into his daughter's trust. He can't buy back the years stolen by prison and he can't force someone to love him without fear of what comes with it. By the time this arc reaches its peak, we see Dwight as a man pulled in two directions. On one side, the empire he's fighting to keep alive. On the other, the family he's desperate not to lose again. The tension between the two makes every choice feel like a sacrifice. If he leans into his empire, he risks losing his daughter forever. If he walks away for her, everything he's built in Tulsa collapses. And that impossible choice is where Tulsa King finds its deepest drama, reminding us that the true cost of power isn't measured in money or territory, but in the people you can't hold on to when the bullets stop flying. If betrayal eats away at Dwight's empire from the inside, then law enforcement is the hammer pounding against it from the outside. Season 2 of Tulsa King makes it painfully clear. Dwight isn't just fighting criminals. He's fighting the system itself, a system that never forgets and never forgives. The cops, the feds, the ATFs, they circle him like vultures, waiting for the moment he slips. And unlike his crew or his rivals, the law doesn't need loyalty or respect. All it needs is evidence, and every move Dwight makes gives them one more thread to pull. The FBI, in particular, emerges as a constant shadow over Dwight's rise. They've seen men like him before, old-school mobsters who think small towns are easy prey. But Tulsa isn't New York, and Dwight isn't untouchable. The agents on his trail understand that they don't have to dismantle him in one grand strike. They can bleed him slowly, case by case, arrest by arrest, pressure point by pressure point. Every raid, every subpoena, every wiretap becomes part of a chess game where Dwight is forced to think 10 moves ahead. And then there's Stacy Beale, whose dual role as both Dwight's lover and his hunter adds a dangerous twist. She isn't just another agent doing her job, she's someone with a personal connection to Dwight. And that makes her unpredictable. Does she want to take him down, or does she want to save him? Does she see him as a criminal to lock away, or as a man she can't quite let go of? Season 2 thrives on this tension, showing us how Dwight's personal life collides violently with the law. For Dwight, Stacy is both a shield and a blade. When she leans toward love, she protects him. When she leans toward duty, she cuts him deeper than any rival could. Local law enforcement also steps up in Season 2. Dwight can't bribe or intimidate every cop in Tulsa, and the ones who refuse to play his game become real problems. Unlike in New York, where corruption runs deeper, Tulsa feels like a place where the law still believes it can win. These officers aren't just background noise, they're active players, chasing his operations, cracking down on his businesses, and making sure that every legitimate front he builds comes under scrutiny. It's a reminder that Dwight isn't just building an empire in the shadows. He's trying to do it in a town where the light of the law shines a little brighter. The constant surveillance, the close calls, the near arrests, these moments give the season its sharpest suspense. One wrong word on a tapped phone, one untrustworthy soldier wearing a wire, one slip in judgment, and everything collapses. And what makes it worse is that Dwight knows it. The paranoia from betrayals within his crew gets amplified by the knowledge that every step he takes might already be documented in an FBI file. For a man who prides himself on control, the idea that his fate could rest in the hands of agents he can't see or predict is maddening. Season 2 doesn't just show law enforcement as an obstacle, it makes them a reflection of Dwight's own flaws. His inability to fully cut ties with Stacy, his arrogance in thinking he can outsmart federal agents the same way he outsmarts mob rivals, his stubborn belief that he's untouchable. All of these blind spots are exactly what the law exploits. The pressure isn't just about badges and warrants. It's about forcing Dwight to confront the fact that he can't rule Tulsa the way he ruled New York. The game has changed, and the rules are no longer written in his favor. By the later episodes, the walls are closing in. Dwight can't tell if the person he's talking to is a soldier or an informant. He can't expand his businesses without drawing even more attention. And worst of all, he can't keep his personal life separate from his criminal one. Because the agents have already blurred the lines for him. Every conversation is a trap. Every partnership a risk, and every new move could be the one that ends it all. The brilliance of this storyline is how it turns Dwight's greatest strength, his confidence, into a liability. He believes he can outthink the law because he's done it before. But Tulsa isn't forgiving. Here, the law waits patiently, documenting every misstep, every betrayal, every slip of the tongue. And while Dwight is busy fighting his rivals and trying to keep his family together, the system never sleeps. It doesn't get tired. It doesn't get emotional. It just waits for the perfect moment to strike. By the end of Season 2, law enforcement pressure has become more than just a subplot, it's the storm on the horizon. No matter how many battles Dwight wins against enemies on the street, the question lingers. How long can he really keep outrunning the law? And when it finally catches up to him, will it be the handcuffs or the betrayals that break him first?